The first signs appeared quietly, almost like a whisper. Across the world, observatories picked up unusual signals from deep space. They were faint, yet structured, unlike anything astronomers had ever seen. Dr. Aidan Mercer sat in his office at the International Space Observatory, staring at the data with a growing sense of unease. At first, he thought it could be a technical glitch, a misread from a satellite or interference from nearby stars. But as he compared readings from observatories across the globe, the truth became impossible to ignore. These signals were real and they were deliberate. The patterns were complex, repeating in a way that suggested intelligence behind them. Aidan called a meeting with his team, a group of scientists and mathematicians who had spent decades decoding the mysteries of space. They huddled around screens, tracing the waves and trying to make sense of the frequencies. Slowly, piece by piece, a picture began to emerge. It was not a random message. It was communication, something designed to be understood by beings capable of interpreting mathematics and logic. News of the signals leaked, as it always did with groundbreaking discoveries. Journalists and media outlets began speculating about alien life. Social media exploded with theories, some serious, some absurd. Most people were fascinated, others frightened, but few could grasp the full implications. Governments quietly set up emergency meetings behind closed doors, assembling scientists, military officials, and communication experts to analyze the signals without alarming the public. As the days passed, the signs in the sky grew more pronounced. Satellites experienced unexplained interference. Strange lights were reported in various countries, and atmospheric anomalies hinted that something powerful was approaching. Yet most people went about their daily lives, unaware that the universe was shifting around them. Aidan and his team worked around the clock, knowing that time was running out. They had to understand the signals before it was too late. Aidan had spent his life studying the cosmos, but nothing prepared him for this moment. His team discovered that the signals were not just warnings, they were coordinates, a map leading to a location far beyond Earth. The message implied that someone or something was coming for humanity. The idea was almost impossible to accept. Could the galaxy really be aware of humans and see them as a threat? Despite the skepticism he faced, Aidan pressed on. He sent urgent reports to government agencies, but many dismissed his findings as improbable. Military officials argued that Earth had never faced such a threat and that humanity's technology was not significant on a galactic scale. Still, Aidan knew better. The patterns were intentional, a sign of intelligence far beyond human comprehension. If ignored, they could lead to disaster. In the meantime, ordinary people began to notice unusual occurrences. Farmers reported lights hovering over fields. Pilots observed strange formations in the sky, and radio operators picked up signals that defied explanation. Panic was spreading quietly, although official channels maintained calm. People whispered about the end of the world in hushed tones, but life went on. Schools, offices, and cities continued their routines as if the universe had not changed. Aidan's team faced setbacks as well. Equipment failed at critical moments, data streams became corrupted, and attempts to communicate with the source of the signals proved difficult. Yet they refused to give up. Every clue they uncovered added to their understanding, slowly building a picture of the threat looming over Earth. It was a race against time, and failure was not an option. As the team worked, international cooperation began to take shape. Scientists from different countries shared findings, pooling resources and knowledge. Hackers, amateur radio enthusiasts, and mathematicians volunteered to help decode the complex signals. It became clear that survival depended on more than technology or military power. It depended on the ingenuity, courage, and collaboration of ordinary humans. One evening, as Aidan stared at the flickering screens, he realized that the signals were not just a warning, they were a test. Whoever sent them wanted to see if humanity could understand, respond, and act. It was a message designed to provoke thought, challenge intelligence, and measure resilience. The thought sent a chill down his spine. Failure would not just mean misunderstanding. It could mean extinction. Meanwhile, the world continued to change. Satellites went dark without explanation, communication networks faltered, and strange phenomena appeared in the sky. People started noticing the disruptions, and fear began to spread. Yet in the chaos there was also courage. Ordinary citizens reported sightings, shared data online, and offered help in ways big and small. Humanity was awakening to the reality of the cosmos. Forced to confront a threat unlike any before. In the quiet moments, Aiden thought about the responsibility resting on his shoulders. He was not just a scientist. He was a messenger, a guardian of knowledge, and possibly the only hope for survival. He looked at his team, each face showing determination and anxiety, and realized they were all in this together. The world might not understand, but they had to act, and they had to act now. The signals continued, growing stronger, more persistent, and impossible to ignore. Aiden and his team worked tirelessly to decode them, uncovering patterns within patterns, sequences within sequences. Every discovery brought them closer to understanding the message, but also closer to realizing the enormity of what was coming. The galaxy was aware of Earth, and something was heading toward them, something that did not view humans as equals. In laboratories, in offices, and in living rooms across the world, people began to feel the weight of the unknown. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and the knowledge was both thrilling and terrifying. The signals were a reminder that survival required intelligence, unity, and courage. As the team pieced together the final fragments of the message, they prepared for what no one could ignore any longer: a reckoning with forces beyond Earth, beyond comprehension, and possibly beyond hope. Aiden leaned back, taking a deep breath. The first step was understanding. The next would be survival. And for the first time, he realized that humanity's greatest challenge was not just what awaited them in space, but how they would rise to meet it. Days turned into nights and the signals grew stronger. Aiden Mercer and his team worked relentlessly, deciphering every fragment, every pulse, and every pattern. It became clearer with each passing hour that the message was not just a warning, but a threat. Earth was being watched. The Galaxy's Council, a group of advanced species known for their strict order and ruthless enforcement, had marked humanity as a potential danger. Their decision was swift and final. Earth would be dealt with before humans could grow too. Powerful Aiden struggled to explain the gravity of the situation to the authorities. Some listened, others doubted, and many feared the implications. Governments around the world held secret meetings, trying to balance secrecy with urgency. Military leaders planned possible defenses, while scientists debated how to communicate with the approaching fleet. Aiden knew that time was slipping away. Every delay could cost millions of lives. While the governments maneuvered, ordinary people began noticing unusual events. Air traffic was disrupted, satellites fell out of orbit, and strange lights appeared in the sky. Social media was flooded with speculation and fear. Many dismissed the events as natural phenomena or technical failures, but a few sensed that something far more serious was unfolding. In small towns and big cities alike, communities whispered about the impossible, that humanity might be facing forces from beyond the stars. Aiden realized that humanity would need more than government action. He reached out to amateur scientists, radio enthusiasts, and skilled programmers around the world. People responded, eager to help decode the complex signals. Together they uncovered more details. The fleet approaching Earth was enormous, far beyond what anyone could imagine. Its technology was advanced, capable of disrupting satellites, communication networks, and even weather patterns. A direct confrontation would be catastrophic. The team also discovered a critical detail hidden in the signals, a method of communication that the Alien Council understood, built on universal mathematics and energy patterns. If humanity could send a properly encoded message, it might convince the Council to pause, to reconsider, or even to negotiate. It was a fragile hope, but it was hope nonetheless. Preparing this message became the top priority. Tensions escalated as the world slowly became aware of the looming threat. In some countries, governments leaked information to prepare the public. Panic spread in pockets, but many chose to ignore the warnings, clinging to the belief that this was impossible. Meanwhile, Aiden's team worked day and night, knowing that failure meant annihilation. They built advanced devices, tested quantum communication methods, and refined the message over and over. Each attempt brought them closer to a breakthrough. Amid the chaos, ordinary acts of courage stood out. People volunteered to monitor signals, protect sensitive equipment, and ensure that communication channels remained open. Communities rallied together, supporting each other in small but meaningful ways. Teachers explained the situation to children in a calm and reassuring manner. Families gathered to discuss survival plans even as uncertainty loomed. Humanity's resilience and cooperation became its quiet strength. Unnoticed by the vast forces approaching from space. Inside the observatories, Aiden often stayed late into the night staring at the data streams. He felt the weight of the world pressing on his shoulders. The signals were more than information. They were a warning, a challenge, and a test. The Alien Council had no reason to trust humans, and yet the smallest misstep could provoke immediate retaliation. Aiden and his team had to get it right, not just for themselves, but for everyone on Earth. As preparations continued, governments debated their options. Some argued for a preemptive strike, believing that any hesitation would be fatal. Others trusted the scientists, seeing the value in communication over conflict. Aiden and his team had to navigate political tension while keeping their focus on the mission. They knew that time was their enemy, and unity was their only weapon. The signals also revealed something unexpected. Fragments of the Council's code suggested that they were curious about humanity, not just hostile. The aliens seemed to be observing patterns in human behavior, testing reactions and measuring intelligence. This knowledge gave Aiden hope. Perhaps if humanity could demonstrate thoughtfulness, logic, and restraint, the Council might consider dialogue instead of destruction. In small labs and offices across the globe, ordinary people worked alongside professionals to decode the signals. They used mathematics, logic puzzles, and quantum physics to piece together the message. Each day brought progress, and each night brought uncertainty. The approaching fleet was silent but undeniably present, and humanity had only one chance to reach it before it was too late. Meanwhile, media outlets continued reporting unusual events in cautious tones. Stories of strange lights, satellite failures, and unexplainable phenomena captured public attention. People speculated about aliens, natural disasters, and even government experiments. Fear mingled with fascination, and humanity became acutely aware of its place in the universe. For the first time, the world was united by a common, invisible threat. Aiden often thought about what it would mean if they failed. Entire cities could be destroyed, millions of lives lost, and all of humanity could be wiped from existence. Yet, he also saw the determination in his team, the courage of ordinary people, and the ingenuity of minds working together. He realized that humanity's true strength lay not in its technology, but in its ability to think, adapt, and cooperate under pressure. As the day of action approached, preparations reached a fever pitch. The message had to be perfect. One miscalculation, one misinterpretation, and it could trigger a devastating attack. Every calculation was checked multiple times, every sequence tested repeatedly. The world waited unknowingly, while behind the scenes, a group of humans worked tirelessly to send a message that could save the planet. Finally, the message was ready. It was concise, precise, and encoded using the universal principles the Council understood. It conveyed humanity's intelligence, capacity for cooperation, and willingness to avoid conflict, while making clear that an attack would unify Earth against any aggressor. It was a bold statement, a leap of faith, and the last hope for survival. The world stood on the edge of an uncertain future. The signals continued to pulse from deep space, the fleet approached silently, and humanity held its breath. In laboratories, offices, and homes, people worked, watched, and waited. The fate of Earth depended not on weapons, not on armies, but on one carefully crafted message and the courage of those brave enough to send it. It was a turning point, the moment when humans chose to confront the galaxy with intelligence, hope, and unity. The day the fleet entered the solar system was like nothing humanity had ever witnessed. Satellites went offline one by one, communication networks flickered, and strange gravitational anomalies caused chaos in space and on Earth. People looked up in wonder and fear, noticing lights and shapes in the sky that defied explanation. Governments scrambled, trying to coordinate responses, but the sheer scale of the alien fleet made any conventional defense seem pointless. Dr. Aiden Mercer and his team watched in awe and terror. Their instruments recorded ships that seemed to stretch for miles, perfectly synchronized in formation, radiating energy far beyond human capability. They were witnessing the power of a species that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. The message that had once seemed theoretical now had an urgency that was impossible to ignore. Earth's survival depended on understanding the fleet and finding a way to communicate before it was too late. Amid the chaos, humanity showed its resilience. Ordinary citizens adapted quickly, finding ways to stay safe and protect vital infrastructure. Engineers worked around the clock to stabilize power grids and prevent catastrophic failures. Amateur radio operators and communication experts attempted to maintain lines of contact, providing crucial data to the scientists and authorities. The world began to feel the reality of the threat, and though fear was widespread, so was determination. Aiden's team focused on the signals. Every pulse from the fleet seemed deliberate, as if they were observing humanity, testing reactions, and probing weaknesses. The complexity of the alien communication suggested intelligence far beyond human comprehension, but within it, Aiden recognized patterns that could be decoded. He realized that the fleet's movement and signals were not purely aggressive. There was an underlying logic, a way to respond if humanity acted correctly, using the mathematical codes extracted from the earlier signals. The team constructed a message that could reach the Council. It needed to demonstrate intelligence, cooperation, and reason, showing that humans could think and act strategically. At the same time, it had to make clear that any attack on Earth would provoke a united response. It was a delicate balance, a mixture of warning and appeal for understanding, designed to make the Council pause. Meanwhile, across the globe, ordinary people contributed in unexpected ways. Amateur astronomers shared crucial observations that helped map the fleet's formation. Hackers helped secure communication lines, ensuring that the message could be transmitted without interference. Teachers and parents explained the situation calmly to children, preventing widespread panic and helping society maintain some sense of normalcy. Humanity was united not by fear alone, but by ingenuity and collaboration. Inside command centers, political and military leaders argued over strategy. Some advocated for a direct attack, believing it was the only way to survive. Others trusted Aiden and his team, recognizing that the alien technology far outmatched human weapons. Decisions were tense and difficult, but the scientists' message held hope that reason and logic could prevent mass destruction. It was a test of patience, intelligence, and courage. As the fleet approached closer, its presence became impossible to ignore. Entire cities reported unexplained power fluctuations. Gravity anomalies disrupted air travel, and satellites fell from orbit. Governments prepared emergency measures for evacuation and disaster response, but they all hoped it would not come to that. Humanity's survival depended on the message, on careful calculation and precise timing. One mistake could end everything. The team faced setbacks as well. Communication arrays failed under interference. Coding errors threatened to scramble the message, and the approaching fleet's signals became more complex. Yet, Aiden and his team pressed on, understanding that every challenge was an opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to improve the chance of survival. Time was short, and failure was not an option. As the hours passed, the message took shape. It was a blend of mathematics, logic, and energy signatures designed to be universally understood. Every sequence, every pulse, every pattern had been checked and rechecked. The team understood that the message itself was more than communication. It was humanity's declaration of existence, intelligence, and the capacity for thought. It carried both a warning and an appeal for understanding. A fragile hope stretched across the void of space. While the fleet's presence caused fear, it also brought humanity together in ways unseen before. Citizens reported unusual phenomena, shared observations, and worked in teams to support the efforts of scientists and engineers. Global collaboration reached unprecedented levels, demonstrating that human Resilience and cooperation could match the intelligence and power of forces far beyond Earth. In the midst of preparation, Aiden realized something vital. The fleet was not acting recklessly. Every movement, every signal suggested that the Council was observing, analyzing, and evaluating humanity. They were watching for evidence of intelligence, cooperation, and strategic thinking. If humans could demonstrate these qualities, there might be a chance for dialogue rather than destruction. It was a delicate opportunity, one that could not be wasted. As night fell across the world, people looked up at the sky with a mixture of fear and awe. The fleet remained massive and silent, a reminder of the stakes. In control rooms and observatories, Aiden and his team prepared the final version of the message, ready to transmit at the exact moment calculated to maximize its chance of being understood. Humanity's fate now rested on a single act of courage and precision, a message that could save billions of lives if sent correctly. The fleet hovered near Earth, seemingly studying the planet. Their energy emissions fluctuated, patterns forming and dissolving as if testing comprehension. Aiden watched every pulse and noted every signal, understanding that the moment of contact was imminent. Humanity had reached a critical juncture. The choice was no longer theoretical, no longer about preparation alone. Action was necessary, and timing was everything. As the first transmission began, Aiden felt a mixture of hope and fear. Every person involved in the project understood the gravity of the situation. This was humanity's first real contact with an advanced galactic species, and the outcome would determine the future of the planet. Ordinary people, engineers, scientists, and families around the world all held their breath, united by a single purpose: to send a message that could save Earth and prove that humanity deserved a chance to survive in the galaxy. The day came when the message had to be sent. Dr. Aiden Mercer and his team had worked for weeks, refining every sequence, checking every calculation, and testing every pattern. The message was ready. It was simple in words but complex in construction, designed to communicate both reason and warning. Humanity's existence, intelligence, and capacity for cooperation were woven into every pulse. It was a last chance to reach the Council before the fleet acted. People around the world watched as strange phenomena intensified in the sky. Satellites blinked out of service, sudden flashes lit up the atmosphere, and gravitational anomalies caused small tremors. Governments held emergency protocols, but most citizens were unaware of the full danger. In homes, offices, and classrooms, ordinary people felt a strange mixture of awe and fear. The sky was no longer just a place of stars. It had become a canvas of unknown power. Aiden's team monitored every detail. They calculated the exact moment to transmit the message, accounting for the fleet's position, energy emissions, and signal reception. The moment was tense. A misstep could provoke the fleet, and a delay could render the message ineffective. Scientists, engineers, and communication experts held their breath, understanding that billions of lives depended on the success of this one act. The message itself was not long, but it carried weight. It stated clearly that humanity was willing to cooperate, learn, and engage with other intelligent life. It conveyed that humans understood logic, mathematics, and patterns, and that they could respond intelligently to challenges. At the same time, it warned that any aggression would unite Earth against the fleet. The tone was bold but cautious, appealing to reason and universal understanding. As the transmission began, the message traveled at the speed of light, encoded in sequences designed to match universal energy and mathematical signatures. Every pulse, every fluctuation, and every wave carried the essence of human thought, ingenuity, and cooperation. The team monitored feedback, waiting for a sign that the Council had received and understood the communication. The world below remained tense, but unaware of the precise stakes. Ordinary citizens noticed changes in the sky, satellites falling from orbit, and lights that defied explanation. Communities shared observations and offered support, unaware that their actions were part of a larger story of survival. Humanity was united, if only unknowingly, by the silent effort of billions of small acts of courage and cooperation. Aiden and his team analyzed the fleet's response. The ships did not attack immediately. Instead, they shifted position, moving in patterns that suggested deliberation rather than aggression. Energy emissions fluctuated, forming patterns that seemed almost deliberate, as if the Council was decoding the message and considering its meaning. The tension was unbearable. For hours, humanity waited in silence, hoping that their first attempt at communication would succeed. During this waiting period, ordinary acts of human ingenuity continued. Engineers repaired communication networks damaged by the fleet's presence. Amateur scientists and radio operators relayed observations to the main team. Teachers explained the events to children calmly, while families gathered to offer comfort and reassurance. Every action, every moment of collaboration, reinforced the message being sent across the galaxy. Humanity could think, adapt, and work together. Aiden reflected on what had brought them to this point. The signals had begun as mysterious pulses from deep space, but they had become a challenge, a test of intelligence and cooperation. Humanity had risen to the occasion, pooling resources, skills, and courage in ways previously unseen. The message was not just a communication to the Council. It was a testament to human resilience and unity. As the fleet hovered near Earth, the world seemed to hold its breath. The ship's massive forms shimmered with energy beyond comprehension, yet there was no immediate attack. The Council was listening. Humanity had demonstrated, through the careful construction of the message and the collective effort behind it, that they were capable of reason and strategy. The hope that had seemed fragile now had a chance to succeed. Slowly, a response came. The fleet adjusted its formation in a way that indicated acknowledgement. The energy patterns suggested that the Council had received the message and was analyzing its contents. The tension began to ease, replaced by cautious optimism. Humanity had not been destroyed. They had reached across the void and made contact, using intelligence, precision, and unity as their weapons. In the aftermath of the first response, Aiden realized that this was only the beginning. Communication with the Council would continue, providing opportunities to negotiate, learn, and understand. Humanity had survived the immediate threat, but the galaxy remained vast and unpredictable. They had proven that intelligence and cooperation could avert disaster, but they would need to remain vigilant for the challenges ahead. Across the world, ordinary people began to feel a sense of relief and pride. Engineers, scientists, teachers, and families had all played a role in this unprecedented moment of survival. Humanity's ability to think, act, and communicate as a unified species had made the difference. The sky still held mystery and power, but now it was filled with the knowledge that humans could rise to the greatest challenges. Using intellect, collaboration, and courage, Aiden looked at the screens one last time that night. The fleet remained, but its stance was no longer threatening. The message had worked, opening a door that humanity had never imagined would exist. The galaxy had acknowledged them, and for the first time, humans realized they were part of a larger, interconnected universe. Their survival was not due to weapons or force, but to understanding, reason, and the courage to act together in the face of the unknown. After the first successful contact, humanity waited anxiously for further signals. The fleet lingered near Earth, its ships massive and silent, yet there was no aggression. The alien council had received the message and was responding, not with violence, but with observation and cautious communication. Dr. Aiden Mercer and his team realized that this was a historic moment. Earth had survived an existential threat through intelligence, unity, and courage. But the work had only begun. Governments coordinated with scientists to establish ongoing communication channels. Teams of linguists, engineers, mathematicians, and amateur enthusiasts worked together to interpret the Council's messages. The goal was clear: to understand their rules, intentions, and the structure of the galaxy, while demonstrating that humanity could act responsibly and rationally. Every response was carefully crafted, maintaining honesty, clarity, and caution. Ordinary people also played a part in this new era. Communities monitored skies, shared observations, and maintained essential services. Schools incorporated lessons about the signals and the importance of global collaboration. Families discussed the events, emphasizing calm, curiosity, and learning. Humanity had not only survived the immediate threat but had begun to adapt, showing resilience, courage, and ingenuity on a planetary scale. Aiden reflected on the journey so far. The signals had arrived quietly, almost like a whisper, and had escalated into a crisis that tested every skill, every decision, and every human instinct. The team had faced skepticism, political tension, and technical failures, yet they had persisted. Their success was not only in decoding the messages, but in uniting humanity's efforts toward a common goal. The lesson was clear: intelligence, cooperation, and perseverance were humanity's true strengths. The Alien Council eventually sent a delegation to establish formal communication. Their ships moved closer, energy patterns signaling peaceful intent. Humanity had gained a seat at a galactic table, something that seemed impossible just weeks earlier. Scientists, engineers, and leaders from across the globe coordinated the first steps of diplomacy, using technology, mathematics, and universal communication codes. The Council observed closely, testing the humans' ability to respond intelligently and cooperatively. Despite relief, vigilance remained essential. Humanity had survived one test, but the galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and full of species far older and more advanced than humans. Aiden and his team continued to analyze signals, refine communication methods, and educate governments on best practices. The world had learned a powerful lesson. Survival depended not on force alone, but on intelligence, patience, and strategic thinking. As dialogue continued, humans began to understand the Council's perspective. The galaxy operated under strict rules designed to maintain order and prevent chaos. Humanity's technological growth had triggered caution, as other species worried about the potential impact of a new, unpredictable player. Through careful communication, Aiden's team demonstrated that humans were capable of reason, collaboration, and strategic thought. The Council began to view Earth not as a threat, but as a potential participant in the galaxy's network. In everyday life, ordinary humans felt the subtle shift. Scientists continued their research with renewed purpose. Engineers improved communication and observation technology. Teachers used the events to inspire curiosity and learning. Families embraced the significance of human resilience. The story of survival, communication, and unity became part of the culture, a testament to what could be achieved when intelligence and courage were combined. Aiden often reflected on the simple beginning of the crisis: mysterious signals from deep space that had sparked fear, curiosity, and determination. Humanity had faced an unimaginable challenge, yet it had survived through thought, collaboration, and precise action. The journey had been a test of resilience, creativity, and unity, and humans had passed with distinction. The message that had once been a desperate hope had opened a door to understanding, diplomacy, and potential alliances. The alien delegation established contact protocols, allowing for regular communication. This contact provided insights into the galaxy's technology, culture, and organization. Humans shared knowledge, science, and observations, gradually earning trust. The Council recognized that humans were capable of learning and adapting, and that their actions could influence galactic events responsibly. Earth had become more than a planet. It was now a participant in a larger network of intelligent life. Amid this newfound connection, humanity also recognized the need for continued vigilance. While the Council was now cautious allies rather than immediate threats, the galaxy remained unpredictable. Humans would need to maintain intelligence, communication, and cooperation to survive and thrive. Aiden emphasized education, observation, and strategy as essential tools for future challenges, ensuring that Earth remained prepared. Humanity had changed forever. The experience united nations, encouraged scientific advancement, and inspired global collaboration. Ordinary people realized the power of teamwork, curiosity, and courage. The sky was no longer just a source of wonder. It was a reminder of both the dangers and the possibilities that existed beyond Earth. Humans had survived by acting together. Thinking critically and embracing their capacity for intelligence and reason, Aiden watched the fleet slowly depart. leaving Earth with cautious optimism. The Council had accepted the message, acknowledged humanity's intelligence, and allowed a fragile peace to take root. Humanity had survived the near impossible, not through violence, but through strategy, understanding, and the courage to act wisely. It was a triumph of intellect and unity, a story that would inspire generations to come. In the quiet that followed, people across the world reflected on their role in the events. Scientists, engineers, families, and communities recognized that even small actions mattered. Humanity had faced the galaxy and survived. They had learned that courage, intelligence, and collaboration could overcome fear, uncertainty, and even the most advanced threats. The sky remained full of stars, but now humanity looked at it with pride, hope, and the knowledge that they could rise to any challenge.